Today we're going to start on the bottom of 36, the Yehuda Mahi. We thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. Let's our learning, we should have Bismillah English immediately. So we mentioned that Yosef sanctified Hashem's name in secret. So one letter of Hashem's name was added to his name. In the Tillim it says, instead of Yosef, it says Yehosef. That's an extra hey. And Yehuda, the sanctified Hashem's name in public, so his whole name is Hashem's name, just with the Dalet in there. Okay. Yehuda Mahi, where did this happen by Yehuda? What we did yesterday is we went through where it happened with Yosef. Today we start where did it happen with Yehuda, that he sanctified Hashem's name. Oh, really? It means Rabbi Meir Balanes, Rabbi Meir from the books. Comics. Okay, that's interesting. Did you know that? Today's Reb Meir's yahrzeit. Reb Meir Balanes. Jimmy sometimes sounds to me things like that.
Right.
It is today?
Yes.
Okay.
And my aunt Ava Shalom also.
From say the words, where does it come from?
Yeah, I'm not sure where we know that's from. I don't know where we have this information. I don't know. Yehuda Mahi. What happened by Yehuda? That we say that he sanctified Hashem's name in public. The Tanya was taught in a brisa. Oh, that's what you mentioned. Hey, Meir Eimer. Meir used to say, Shamdi Yisrael Alayam. The Jewish people were standing by the sea. As the tribes were fighting. Actually, we hear means Menatzchem means they were victoring against each other. This one says, I'm going to go in first. This one says, I'm going to go in first. This is not the way they teach it to us at school. School, they says that no one wanted to go in. Okay, but this opinion of Reb Meir is this other opinion that doesn't get taught. Each one wanted to go in first, and they were fighting who's going to be first. Well, Kafat Shifte Shel Binyamin V'Yarad V'Yam Tchila. The Shevet of Binyamin jumped, went into the sea first. Shenemar Sham Binyamin Tsar Reidim. Their youngster Binyamin rules over. Al Tikri Reidim Ela Raid Yam. To play on the word Reidim. Reidim means to rule. Over here it's saying that it's Raid Yam, that it went into the sea. Means that it trusted in Hashem. They jumped in first. But Yisari Yehuda Regman Oisam, the leaders of Yehuda were pelting them with stones. Shenemar Sari Yehuda Rigmasam, says the princes of Yehuda were stoning them. Because of that, Binyamin merited to become the host for Hashem. Shenemar Bank Seif of Shachin, that between his shoulders he rests. It means in the temple was built in the area of Binyamin. The altar itself was in the area of Yehuda, I think, but the rest of it was Binyamin. Okay. Of Binyamin, the Holy of Holies would be in the territory of Binyamin. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda says to Rabbi Meir. Now, Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehuda are both students of Rabbi Akiva. He says, like Achayamaisa, that wasn't the way the story went. Ella, rather, this one said, it says, I'm not going in first. I'm not going in first. Exactly the opposite. So, Yinachshav ben Aminadav jumps in first. They had different reporters, different newspaper reporters give you different stories of what happened. So Nachshon ben Aminadav jumped in. V'yard li'am tchila jumped in first. Nemar savuni b'kachash Ephraim, surrounded by the lies of Ephraim. B'mirma beis Yisrael, and with the deceit of the house of Israel. V'Yehuda oid raid im kel. And Yehuda is still rebellious against God. And what the Gemara is doing over here is it's saying not rebellious, raid, like Myrid, rather raid means it goes down into the sea. Balav Mefarish Kabbalah, and on this it's explained in the Kabbalah, in the Gemara means the Nevi'im, or the Ksuvim. The Nach is called Kabbalah. It says in
Kabbalah predates the Shas.
the Zayar. The Zayar is before the Shas. Yeah. And at least that's our tradition. First, this is the prayer that Nachshon and Minadav is saying, but it's quoted in Tehillim. David HaMelech quotes from like some historical prayers as well in the Psalms. This is Psalm 69. It says, "Save me, Hashem, because the water has come to my soul. I'm sinking and getting like drowning in the deep mud, in my mud, and I can't stand." Etc. And over there it says, "I'll just to finish. Don't let me be run over by the water of the flood waters. Don't be swallowed up by the deep. I shouldn't be swallowed up." So that was referring to Nachshon ben Aminadav praying when he jumped in the water. It went up to his neck. Okay. But from Tehillim. At that time, Moshe was davening long. Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says to him, "Yedidi Tevim B'Yam." Hashem said, Yedidi. No, it's Yedidai, means my friends, my beloved. No, he's not talking to Moshe, he's not referring to Moshe, he's referring to the Jewish people. My beloved are sinking in the sea, and you're saying long Shemana Esrei, you're saying praying so long. So Moshe says to Hashem, Rabbeinu Shalom, Master of the world, what do you want from me? What am I supposed to do? Speak to the Jewish people and you should travel. Now lift up your staff and stretch out your hand. And therefore, Yehuda became the king. Yehuda became the sanctuary, and Israel his dominion. So why did this happen? That Yehuda became the sanctuary, which means like the king. So that's because Misham the Hayam Ravayanis. That's a quote from in the Halal part of the Tehillim. Over there it says that Haisi Yehud Lakadra. Over there it says Hayam Ravayanis. The sea saw and fled. What did the sea see? It saw. It's the sea saw that Yehuda jumped in.
But it was Nachshon ben Aminadav.
Nachshon ben Aminadav jumped in, yeah. So this goes back to what we asked before. What happened by Yehuda, how he sanctified Hashem's name in public? That was Nachshon ben Aminadav jumping into the sea, according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, now we go back to the blessings and the curses. Tanya. By the way, that section of Halal is called Halal HaMitzri, the Egyptian Halal. The Gemara calls it because it talks about Mitzrayim. It takes it from Mitzrayim. Now it says, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Aimer, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, we said, what he says is he doesn't speak a lot. We have him often. But over there, I guess comparative to others, doesn't speak a lot, but it's perfect.
Shaul was from Binyamin.
Right.
So not all the Malachim have to be from Shevet Yehuda. I think future.
Right. Once it came from Yehuda, then it continues from Yehuda. But the first king, you're right, was not from Yehuda. Elazar ben Yaakov says, Levi Lamata, Shekvar Nemar Lamaila. You can't say that Levi was down below, as it says in Sefer Yeshua, because it says that Levi was above. It says Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda were on this mountain, right? We're on the mountain, so that means Levi was included. And you can't say that Levi was on the mountain because it says he was down below. It says that he was down below, that the Kayanim were surrounding the Aaron and the Levium were surrounding the Kayanim. So how do you say that? But they were on top of the mountain. Okay, said, how do you do this? The elders of the Kayanim and the elders of the Levium, they were down below. But the other Levium climbed up the mountain. That's the opinion of Rabbi Ben Yaakov. Rabbi Yeshua Eimer, what was the age of serving? From 30 to 50. That was the age that they could serve in the temple. So when they were in the Levium that were in between 30 and 50, I think they practiced from 25 to 30. And then from 30 to 50, they were serving. They were down below, together with the ark, and everyone else went above. That's exactly the opposite. They said, the first opinion said that the Ziknei Kuna were below, the Ziknei Leviah were below, the ones that were not serving, and the others went up the mountain. The younger ones went up. According to this opinion, the younger ones were below, the older ones climbed up the mountain, or the very young ones. Rabbi Yomer Elabe Lamata. Rabbi says, what are you saying? Everyone was below. Lamate Maimdim. Hafchapanim Kanal Klapiar Grisel Pascal Bracha. Klapiar Evel Pascal Baklala. Rabbi ruins the whole picture. The the artist's rendition of this. We have 6 tribes on top of one mountain. There was no one was on top of the mountains. Everyone was down below, and they just turned towards one mountain for the blessings. They turned towards the other mountain for the curses. What does it mean, Al? It says Vela Yamdu Al Hargris. And what does it mean, Al? Al Besamach. Al doesn't mean on top. Al means next to.
Al Yad is next to.
Yeah, Al Yad is next to, right? Okay, but Kivitani, we have a brisa that even says this. V'nasata al merachas l'vayna zaka al merachas l'vayna zaka. You should put onto the arrangement of the showbread. You should put on it frankincense, pure frankincense. And Rabbi explains this, al b'samach, that al doesn't mean on top of the breads, it means on the table next to the breads. Al b'samach in al mamish. Maybe al means on top. It says, no, I'll prove it to you. I have a verse where it says al, and it's clearly not on top. It says v'sakaisa ala arain. That's a parechas, I think it says. You should put on the aron the curtain. It doesn't mean that you put it on the aron. It means that's a parechas. Yeah, doesn't mean that you put it on top. It says that you put it on the next to it. So al means next to it. Yeah, I think there's another pasuk that says al esa kapiras, which actually means on top. But here it says that it's referring to esa parechas. Okay. 1 second. Okay. Sorry. They turned their faces towards the Mount Grizim, and they began to say, "This is the Levium, the blessings. The blessed is the one that keeps the Torah." And then they went to they turned towards Har Eval, and they said the curses. Cursed is the one that keeps it. And then they went to Har Grizim. We'll see exactly how this goes. And they said, "Cursed is one that makes a molten image." And then blessed is one that makes. Then they went to Har, and they said, "Cursed is the one." Okay, well, Tanu Rabbana, the Brisa taught Baruch Bechlal, Baruch Befrat. each one included a blessing of blessed is the one that keeps this entire Torah, and cursed is the one that does not keep this Torah. And then it said each specific detail of you shouldn't make a molten image, and you shouldn't, trick your friend or whatever. All those. Okay. These general, I think there were 11 statements. These general statements. So each one had a blessing. Of course, there was a blessing and a curse, but each blessing had a general blessing as well. Keep the entire Torah and this. Okay, in this specific detail. Arur bichlal, arur bifrat. And then there was a curse, a general curse. Curse is one that does not keep the Torah. And then it goes on, it says, Lil Medolam and Lishma Velasis. And each one also, the blessing and the curse, in other words, the covenant was that they have to learn, they have to teach, they have to guard, and they have to observe, they have to fulfill. So what we have now is that every positive and negative has these 4 aspects to the mitzvah. The learning of it, the teaching of it, the lishmar and the lasis. The not doing it, and then the performing it. Not, I guess you're only doing one. You're either performing it or you're not doing it. How does that each one have both lishmar and lasis? Right. Oh, so keep referring to study of Mishnah. And what would perform mean? Well, what would the study mean?
In other words, one must not only to study Torah, but also to remember and to keep it true.
Oh, you follow that? He's quoting from the Quran. He's quoting a Marsha that normally to keep and to lishma velases is normally the negative and the positive of the same mitzvah. Lishma means do not violate it, and lases means to perform. But the Marsha says over here it doesn't mean that. Over here, lishma means to study the Mishnah. Lil Maid meant to study it from the Torah, and lishma means to study from the Mishnah. Lases means to perform. Okay. I guess I didn't see the Marsha, but I guess the explanation is that lishmar would be because Mishnah was studied by heart. So to hold on to it, to lishmar, to guard it means you have to keep making sure that you don't forget it. Mishnah, the term Mishnah is like the word shana that you repeat. Shana is the year, because the cycle of the year keeps going over. And Mishnah means that you learn it by rote, keep going over it.
The first time the Mishnah was reported was in tandem with the Gemara itself, correct?
Well, there's one opinion that holds that, but that's Rashi. The Rambam, at least according to one version of the Rambam, no, the Rambam clearly holds that the Mishnah was written by Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, and the Gemara was written by Rav Ashi. And that was several hundred years later, 300 years later. The Gemara was. There is another opinion that says Rav Ashi, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi arranged the Mishnah, but they didn't write it, and Rav Ashi wrote the Mishnah and the Gemara. But that's usually not the way it's quoted.
Right.
Right. Yeah, they still had no. They still knew the Mishnah before that. It just wasn't arranged in the 6 orders. Okay. Well, now we have Hare. If that's the case, Hare Arba. There's everything is 4. Read it from here. Okay, Hari Arba. That means there's 4 obligations for each mitzvah. But that comes out that Arba, there's 4. It's interesting how it gets divided now. The 4 are the general blessing. It's the blessing of the general that you have to keep the whole Torah. Then you have the blessing of the specific, and then you have the curse of the general, and then the curse of the specific. And then the Arba, and then another 4 that told me that the way he's putting it here, the first 4 is to study the curse, the blessing, and the curse, that the obligation to study. And then you have another 4, which is the blessing. I would have done this so differently. I would have done this so different. I would have done that you have 4 of the blessing of the general blessing and 4 of the specific blessing, right? 4. This is 4. That means you have to learn and teach and study and study the Mishnah and observe general for the whole Torah, and then specifically you have to learn and study and teach for this one, and then you have the learn general study of the general curse, right? And then you have to learn, teach, study, and observe for the specific curse. That's how I would have divided simply like that. But apparently that's not how Rashi is dividing it up. We're getting over here. You have the general blessing, the specific blessing. The general curse and the specific curse of teaching is the first one. Then you have the general curse. No, I'm sorry. Then you have the general blessing, the specific blessing. The general curse and the specific curse regarding teaching others. The Harei Shmaina, that comes 8. And then I have another Shmaina. And then I have Shmaina, and again another 8, which basically means that it's 4 times 8, and 4 times 8 is going to be Hare. No, it's not 4 times 8. First, it starts off with Hare Sheshesrei. First, it starts off that it's 8 plus 8, 16, because you have just simply you have 4 of the general blessing, 4 of the specific blessing, 4 of the general curses, and 4 of the specific curses. What are those 4? To learn, to teach, and all of that. Okay, that becomes v'chein b'Sinai. That's what happened on Sinai. V'chein b'Arvas Mayav, and then the same. That was Mount Sinai. And then also you have b'Arvas Mayav. This was what happened when they came to the plains of Mayav, when Moshe taught them the Torah. So they have 16 plus 16 plus another plus 2, plus the first 16. 16 of the blessings and the curses that they did at Har Grizim and Har Eival, and then at Sinai and at Arvas Mayav, which was earlier, Sinai and Arvas Mayav. Okay, the Gemara now says, how do we know that this actually happened at Sinai and Arvas Mayav? Well, Shenemar, it says in the pasuk, Eila divrei Abisa shetziva Hashem es Moshe gomer. This is the words of the covenant that Hashem commanded Moshe to make a covenant with the Jewish people, besides for the covenant that he made with them at Chorev, which is referring to Sinai. Okay, now because it says besides for what it said at Chorev, so we learn from that, Uksiv, Ushmartim es divrei Abisa, that you should guard this covenant. Over there it says that's talking about an Arvas Mayav. So now we have the blessings and the curses, Har Grizim, Har Eival, blessings at Sinai, and the blessings at Arvas Mayav. Nimtza, Abba Shemaina Brisais, Al Kol Mitzvah comes out that you have 16 plus 16, it's at 32, plus another 16 is 48. So there's 48 covenants for every single mitzvah. Who's saying this? Who was the author of this? This was Stam with the Braisa Tanur Rabbanan. Reb Shimon might see Hargizim Vaharevel. Reb Shimon says no. The bris, the covenant was not by Hargizim and Harevel. However, he does say that there was a covenant there, but that was Umachnes Oyel Mayid Shebamidbar. He adds in that it was Mount Sinai that we had originally, right? That's the first opinion as well. It's also the tent of meeting was another covenant. And then there was Arvas Mayav, the plains of Mayav before they came in. So in other words, in the desert itself, you had the Sinai experience of the covenant. You had the covenant again experienced when Moshe taught it from the tent of meeting. And you have that 40 years later, you have that experience again at the plains of Mayav. And why do we have this machlekes? Because this machlekes, Tanakam and Reb Shimon, go back to another machlekes. What's that machlekes? The Tanya was taught in a Braisa Rabbi Shmuel Eimer. Rabbi Shmuel says, famous machlekes, Klales Nemro B'Sinai. The general laws of the Torah that was said at Mount Sinai. However, Prata is Ba'il Mayid. The details were only taught later. At Mount Sinai, they only got the general rules. They didn't give them all of the all the details that goes through Sefer Vayikra, where it says over there that he spoke to them from the tent of meeting. And by Mount Sinai, it says that you should make an altar and you should bring sacrifices on it. And then in Oyel Mayed, they were taught, well, what that type of sacrifices are. They are all the details. That's Rabbi Shmuel's reading of the text. Rabbi Kiva Imer, Klalis, Upratis, Nemra B'Sinai, everything was taught at Mount Sinai. The Nishna by Almayat, it was repeated at the tent of meeting, and Vinishtalsh the Barbas Mayav, and then it was given a third time in the plains of Mayav. We spoke about this, that this would be like the explanation for Shnai Mikra V'Chatargim, because it was we reviewed the Torah 3 times, corresponding to the 3 times that it was taught. And the last time it was taught Be'er Hated. The last time is with in the Targum. Onkelos in Aramaic. We don't have any mitzvah in the Torah that did not have the 48 covenants, which was 3 times 16. So what comes out over here is that according to Rabbi Shmuel, the Oyel Mayed and the tent of meeting is all, it has to be one, because you didn't get all the whole Torah, all the details at Mount Sinai. I'm sorry, this Mount Sinai and the tent of meeting and the Oyel Mayed had to be one. Because according to Rabbi Shmuel, they only got the general there. So therefore, the way we would say what were the 3 times that there was a covenant was at the tent of meeting in Mount Sinai, that would be 1. Then there was an Arvas Mayav, and then there was at Mount Gerizim and the Mount Avel. According to the other opinion that says that they were already given all the details at Mount Sinai, then you can drop Mount Gerizim and Mount Avel to be part of the covenant. You already have the 3 from Sinai, from the tent of meeting, and from the plains of Mayav.
What's more though?
Plains of Mayav was before they went into the land of Israel. Moshe taught them the whole Torah again. They're hated very well, which we said meant 70 languages. Tanakama doesn't count Mount Gerizim because it's following. No, the opposite. The Tanakama counts Mount Gerizim because it doesn't count Sinai and the tent of meeting as independent. It follows Rabbi Shmuel's view. According to Rabbi Akiva, you don't count Mount Gerizim because it counts Sinai and the tent of meeting independently. Reb Shimon ben Yehuda is Kvarako, Amar Mishum Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon ben Yehuda, a man of the village of Akko, says the name of Reb Shimon. It's interesting. Reb Shimon. Ilcha mitzvah sheksa b'teres leinichs abar mishmena brisa sel sheish meyes elef u'shleish elaf v'chamish meyes chamishim. Reb Shimon gives us the number of how many Jewish people there were. There were 603,550. That's the amount of people that stood there at Mount Gerizim and Mount Tevel. And each one of them has the responsibility for each other. So which means that it's 48 times 603,550. Amar Rebbe. Rebbe says, Reb Shimon ben Yudish Kvaraku, Shem Mishim Reb Shimon, Ein Lecha Kol Mitzvah Mitzvah B'teres Leinichs Arba Shmena Brisa Shel Sheish Meyes Elef Shleish Elaf Chamishim V'Chamish Meyes V'Chamishim. Nimtza, what comes out is the Kol Echad V'Cham Yisrael Sheish Meyes Elef Shleish Elaf V'Chamish Meyes V'Chamishim, that everyone has 600,000 covenants, 603,550. The Gemara says, 1 second. My benayo. That's exactly what Reb Shimon ben Yehuda said. Why are you saying Amar Rebbe l'divrei Reb Shimon? Rebbe says according to him. What just switched over here? Amar of Misharshir. Misharshir says Arva ba'arva da'arva. It could be nayo. The difference is
17 trillion.
Oh, really? Okay, let me just say what it says. Then I have to figure out how to do the cheshbon. He says that you have to look at each one has a responsibility for everyone else. But when they have a responsibility for everyone else, then it means that they have a responsibility for everyone else's responsibility. Not just for everyone else's mitzvahs, but they have responsibility for everyone else's responsibility. That you didn't fulfill your responsibility to be responsible for someone else. You have that's also your responsibility. And I'm responsible for you, for your mitzvahs, also responsible for your responsibility. So Rebbe is saying that it goes another time. Okay, now how do you do the calculation?
48 times 603,550.
Okay.
That comes out to 28 million.
Okay, so the 28 million is 48 times
If you
603.
take again, that 28 million times it 603,550 comes out to 17 trillion.
17 trillion.
485
It's on your
billion.
phone,
Yeah.
that number.
So this is that the 17 trillion
Covenants that we have on every
Yeah,
mitzvah
as we agreed to
to be
be responsible for every mitzvah in the Torah. Oh, it's actually every mitzvah in the Torah has this.
guarantors. Guarantors.
Right.
Not a guarantee.
Does this get times by
But that's only for 605,000
Right.
Jews over
right,
whatever age 20 at that.
right?
If there's more, it starts to get interesting.
But then you have to times it by 613. Because every mitzvah has this. Every mitzvah has the 48 parts covenant. Okay. Third Rabbi Yehuda bar Nachmani Miturgamane the Reb Shimon ben Lakish.
White shoulders.
Reb Yehuda bar Nachmani, the translator of Reb Shimon ben Lakish, he taught Kol Parsha Kula le'nemra ela b'nayif v'neyafis. If you look through that, the blessings and the curses, as we're going to quote the first one, it was only talking about one story. It's talking about an adulterer. Right now, the time is 6:13. You guys, did you see that? Pesach Sheni? You know, in the when you say the Sphere Seimer, so there's a little words that it corresponds to in the psalm in Lam Natzeach Beginnis Mismasher. After each counting of the Eimer, so there's a word over there, and there's also a letter. So take that word Tanchem together with the letter Yud, it adds up to 508. That's today's Sphira. Today's Sphira is the letter. The word is Tanchem, with the Yud is 5, and the Yud is 508, which is much of Pesach Sheni. It adds up that. Okay, So it's Reb Shimon ben Lakish taught that. No, actually, it doesn't say Reb Shimon ben Lakish taught this. It just says that Yehuda ben Achmeni, who is the translator of Reb Shimon ben Lakish, he taught this parsha that it's talking about an adulterer. Cursed is the man that makes an image. Talking about makes an idol. But what do you think? That's enough. It's enough just to curse him. Ella, in other words, like he just negated the whole Torah by making an idol. It says Ella zehabala. We're not talking about someone that makes an idol. We're talking about someone that has a forbidden marriage, lives with a married woman or something. Bahilid Bang gives birth to a son. Now that son has a difficult time getting married because he's a mamzer. So he tries out, goes to amongst the nations, and he worships idols. Now arurim aviv ve'imay shalzeh shekach garmalai. Over there he goes when he worships idols, he makes makes idols. Yeah, remember that this Jewish guy that starts selling crosses.
Wasn't he like
Who?
or is he much later?
No, he is a Tana. Well, actually, no, he's not a Tana. He's an Amira. Why are you asking?
No, it's because I hear his name come up every so often. There's someone.
No, there was a Rabbi Bar Nachmani.
Oh.
There's a Rabbi Bar Nachmani, and this I wonder if that's his brother. That's interesting. Yehuda ben Nachmani. Okay, so who's the one that makes the image? Is this child of this person that had this adulterous relationship? Well, Arura Navi Mishal Zeshikach Garmalai. Cursed as a father and mother, that's what they caused. Look at what they caused, because he had to go, couldn't get married, so he went to the nations. Tanur Rabbanan. It's taught in the Brisa that Moshe Rabbeinu tells the people that Hashem will bring you into land, etc. And Hareval, what is this coming to teach us? So this, where did it say that? This is in chapter 11, verse 29. And then we have in chapter 27, verse 12. It said it already. What it's coming to teach us is that each time that they would say this, you have to say the blessing before the curse. Maybe what you should do is you should say all the blessings without going back and forth. It says no, that you have to do a blessing, and then you go back and you do a klala. Blessing on Har Grizim, the klala on Har Evel. Bracha achas kedemas l'klala, and kol brachas kedemas l'klala. It says bracha, which means one blessing and not all the blessings. Lahakish bracha klala. Another thing that we learned from this is to do this comparison. Just like the curses were given by the Levium, because it says that the Levium responded to the Oror and they said, they responded and they said the curses. Af bracha b'Levium, also the blessings were done by the Levium. Yes, it didn't say v'anu al Levium by the Baruch. Maklal b'kol ram, just like it says v'amru kol ram by the curses. Af bracha b'kol ram, also by the blessing there has to be in a kol ram. Kol ram means a loud voice, a microphone. Ma klala b'lashon hakodesh, just like the curses were in lashon hakodesh. We learned before. This is how we got into this whole thing. That which things needed to be said in Hebrew. It says kol kol. Af bracha b'lashon hakodesh. Also the blessings were done in lashon hakodesh in Hebrew. Ma klal b'chlal prat. Just like the curses were done, general and specific. Someone that doesn't keep the entire Torah, and someone that doesn't keep the specific one. So also af bracha b'chlal prat. Ma klala elu ve'elu einim v'imram. Just like by the curses, the both mountains both groups of people responded, Amen. After bracha, everyone responds, says Amen. Okay, let's leave it over here. Mishnah. Good Shabbos, everyone.